All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, you can hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and get started. There's some others that are going to come online. But I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can get out of here on time.
Right.
Okay. All right. Today is our second class of 4 for the entrepreneurship course. And just to let you know, after this recording, I will upload it to YouTube and put it on the same location where the other class is. And I'll also take the notes or the PowerPoint presentation that we have today. I will also link it, put a link up there so that if you want to, you can download those notes. All right, so they'll all be on YouTube probably by the end of today. I've got a wedding I'm going, well, not shoot, a wedding, I wish it was. I got a funeral. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. As in all classes, I kind of put my background information on here, but of course, you know it from last week. So I'll move to a review of last week real quick. Last week, we discussed the importance of entrepreneurship from a behavioral standpoint, what you have to do to become successful as an entrepreneur. As I always tell people, it's easy to get wealthy and become successful in this country if you just follow a few kind of, I wouldn't call them rules, I call them more kind of behavior, things that you need to do. So I linked on this page, there is the link to the video from the first class. And the most important thing that we discussed last week was instant versus delayed gratification. And how to be successful in life, it's how you handle gratification. Can you practice delayed gratification? And that basically the 3 different aspects, education, economics, and what I'd call political, but really it's kind of social political. And we talked about that last week. And those people that practice delayed gratification end up with more long-term pleasure and long-term financial success, while those that practice instant gratification, I wouldn't call it long-term pain like you see, but more of just not as successful as you think you might be. But you can start practicing this whenever you decide to start. You don't have to say, oh, I should have started at 18, 25, or 35. It doesn't matter. Just start today to say that I'm going to start practicing delayed gratification and I'm going to begin to invest in my future. Today, we're going to talk about business planning and the importance of a business plan. We're going to go through an actual business plan on how to write one. But at this point, just in general, the reason that you need to have a business plan. You need to have a business plan, first of all, for yourself. Many people come up with some great ideas, but you need to put those ideas in writing in a format that makes you really think everything through. It also needs to be in a format that you can share with people. Because I have a lot of people that come to me with business plans, all kind of ideas and business plans. But I'm usually more interested in those that can leave a document with me that I can read. Because once you tell me about the plan and I move on, especially at my age, I forget. So it's great if somebody can hand me a document that says, read more information about what I'm trying to do and see if you can help. So a business plan is not only good for yourself, but it's also an excellent way to pass it on to other people and let them review it and ask for their opinion. Remember, if you want to be successful, you got to get out there and try, and you have to accept, I would say, criticism. right? People have look at it and they say, this doesn't sound right, or I think you should try this. Successful entrepreneurs are always willing to adapt. They're always willing to. I'm the same way. I take criticism and I take it as being helpful to make it better. So I like to have a business plan out there, just some kind of document that I can pass on and maybe let my ex-wife look at it. She's really good at that kind of stuff. And kind of decide, come back and make suggestions. Now that I'm older, I might let my kids look at it, or some friends, just to get an idea and see what they have to say. So putting your business plan on paper gets you to really think through the idea, and then it allows you to get some really good suggestions and recommendations. Then, of course, you need it for a fundraiser. Let's say you want to try and get some people to invest. Having a really good document is going to help them. I know for me, if it's written down somewhere, that tells me that you spent time, you thought it through. If you just tell me about it, then that's not going to work. I mean, it's okay, but people talk about stuff all the time. So the fact that you did a business plan means you're probably pretty serious. It allows you to forecast out exactly what the plan is going to be, how this business is going to work. I want to see that forecast. I want to see your estimation of sales, your market strategy, your estimation of expenses, who your customers are, where did the funding come from, and your overall strategy. Now, there are thousands of formats out there. If you Google business plan, you'll see thousands of formats that people have for doing a business plan. There is no one format out there. It's just how you cover the information and how you put it together. I have an outline that I use that I find is pretty basic and covers everything. But if you're, let's say, creating a business in a certain area, let's say you're creating a digital business, which is we're going to talk about next week. So let's say you want to create an Amazon store. There are business plans in a format, that's really good for writing a business plan for Amazon stores. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can find formatted reports that you just go in and you kind of rewrite over top of. So this is what we're going to do. Is we're going to talk about this particular format of 7 steps, 7 different sections that we're going to discuss that talk about a business plan. And you can use this as a good example of writing a business plan. So let's get started. Remember what the business plan is for. The first section, or you look at the table of contents, the first thing you need to do is it's the introduction of a business plan. This is different from the next one, which is the executive summary. This is an introduction that basically it's about 2 or 3 pages, and it gives a good overview of the business. I always tell people that this report is going to be like a funnel where it's really open at the top. We want a lot of people to look into it, and then it begins to weed people out, because a business plan can ultimately be 20, 30, 100, 200, 300 pages. I've seen them all different sizes. And as I read through it, I'm not going to read maybe 200 pages. I'm going to read the first couple, the introduction and the executive summary, to see if that's something I'm interested in. If it is, I may jump to financial plan first or something else. We'll talk about that. But one of the ways you capture people's interest is the introduction. So I've got a couple of questions here that you would have in that introduction, because you're trying to answer a few things. Why you choose this business? Why this business? Why are you going to do it now? Who's going to buy? Who's the customer? How will they buy? For example, if it's an Amazon store, they're going to be online, or is it going to be a brick and mortar store? Or are you going to take your product and run them through somewhere like Walmart? Or is it going to be a digital product where people just go online, they find it, click, buy it, and it downloads? How will the business be different from the competitors? I'd like to know that. Or are you trying to be the same as the competitor, but not as expensive? How are you going to be profitable? Because if I invest in it or I'm interested in it, I want it to be a profitable business. And if I'm investing in it, I want to be able to figure out a way I get my money back. And then, of course, how much will you make? How long does it take to make that money? Again, some questions that they want. So you see, this is pretty basic. The introduction kind of gives people a who, what, why, when, how this thing's going to work. Couple of pages, boom, you're done. Probably the most important one is the executive summary. That comes next. That's where I would move next. Sometimes I go to the executive summary right away. An executive summary of a business plan is an overview of the key points that you want people to know that will pique their interest. The executive summary is a couple of things about it we're going to talk about that it needs to have. It must be clear and concise. And what you want to do is at the end, the reader of the executive summary is going to want to say, you know what, I'm interested in this. I want to read the whole report. And remember, the report does not have to be 300 pages. It could be a small business and it can be 20 pages or 10 pages. But it has to have everything in there and it has to kind of flow in such a way that you believe that such a business exists and can exist. Right, I put in red over here that this is why the executive summary is often called the most important part of a business plan. If it doesn't capture the reader's attention, the plan will be set aside. And that is so true. When someone sends me a business plan, if I'm not intrigued by it through the executive summary, I'm not interested. And of course, you're not going to get everybody. So that's why I say it's a funnel. We're going to throw some people are going to leave it. They're not interested in that industry. They're not interested in that product, but they don't like it. But we're only looking for a few people. So if we can get 1,000 or so people to look at this thing, we only need to get to a couple before we can become successful at what we're trying to do. So the executive summary of the business plan. Keep your language strong and positive. Polish your executive summary. That means you don't want a lot of either fancy wording or long sentences. You want concise. You want to use positive language. You want to put yourself in the reader's place. For example, when you're writing the executive summary, when you finish, flip it around and consider yourself not the writer of the report, but you're now the reader of the report. Does the executive summary catch your own eye? Does it sound like it's not just running on and babbling, but actually giving you hard facts to tell you to come, do something with this business, work with us, or invest with us, or support us, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. So you put yourself in the reader's place. Also, tailor it to your audience. A banker is different from your running buddy. So you may want to write one with an executive summary that's a little different for the banker than for your friend, especially if you want your friend to invest. Keep it short. Shouldn't be more than a page, maybe a page and a half. Focus on providing a summary, right? So focus that this is a summary, an executive summary of the report. Just kind of make sure. Take your time. So again, we talked about the introduction. It needs to be 2 or 3 pages, maybe at the most. Kind of gives them the overview of the company. Now we have the executive summary, which needs to catch everybody's imagination. Again, maybe a page and a half. But the whole idea is to capture their imagination and say, oh yeah, I like this. I think this thing might work. Now we get into the kind of meat. The next 5 sections represent kind of like the meat of the business plan. This is where you're going to take your time, kind of go through this and kind of get all your I's dotted and T's crossed. Or like I used to say, get your I's crossed and your T's dotted. But here's an example of an executive summary. Let's do that first. I put this on here, even though I'm not going to go over it, because of the importance of the executive summary. I put an example of one in here. And it talks about this is something, an organization that helps children or kids go to college. And you can see how concise and how they kind of lay everything out. Now, one good thing about a business plan, and I don't know if has anybody here seen that TV show Shark Tank? If you've seen Shark Tank, you'll know one of the things they ask. Yes. Right. If you've seen Shark Tank, one of the things that they do, let me make sure I close. Oh, there it is. All right. They ask if you've ever sold anything before. So one of the things when you're working on your business plan, you should figure out a way of actually testing the market and putting your product out there so that in your business plan, you can talk about, even in the executive summary, that I've been selling products, excuse me, I've been selling products for 3 months and I've sold this many products at this price. Now, the first of the kind of main 5 sections, the first one is the company description. Right? In the company description of your business plan, it's coming after the executive summary, and it outlines vital details about your company, such as where you're located, how large the company is, what you do, and what you hope to accomplish. One of the things I say about any business you're in, it's not necessarily that you're selling something physical, but there's like a mental part to it. Like, you feel better, or your client is benefiting in a lot of different ways, right? The company description should talk about your company, where it's located, how large it is, and what you hope to accomplish. And hopefully you have examples to show that you've accomplished something already. If you take my daughter, who is starting a new business, she does therapy to help people that have drug problems. For the past 2 years, she's been working as a consultant with the Cobb County Drug Court. So she has 2 years of experience doing this kind of therapy work. Now she's opening up her own business. She's going to keep the hospital as a client, but she can also take on other clients, like attorneys who need to have their possible client tested, something like that. So you hope to be able to, what my daughter's going to do is she's able to actually say, I've got 2 years of experience in which I've done this kind of work before. And now it's helping her get more business. So you talk about in here what you hope to accomplish, what your future looks like. That's important. Not only for you to visualize it, but also any investor or anybody reviewing it. It describes the vision and direction of the company, so partners and lenders can develop an accurate impression of who you are. Most people that invest in entrepreneurial endeavors do so because they know the customer, they know the client, and they're doing it to kind of help them. So it's the same thing. So when you talk about your company description, you want to put in there not only everything about the company, but again, things that you've accomplished in the past. Uh-oh, let me see. Let's go next. All right. Here are some steps that you'll find in the company description. First thing, write about, you need to research the industry and the competition and write about it. Who's the competition? What kind of condition is the industry in? Second, describe the industry's current and future state. All right, that leads into that. That is, what's the industry doing? What does it look like the future? Any new technologies coming into place? And then provide your basic business information. Craft a problem statement. A problem statement is used to identify a common problem that your target audience faces. I'll give you an example. As a commercial appraiser, most people assume I just go out and look at real estate and determine what the value is. No, that's really not what I'm doing. My business is to provide the client with information that can help them make a better financial decision. Whether that's a report or whether I can talk to them on the phone or go by and see them. So you see, what I understand is when you look at like my business and you kind of figure out basic, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? It's more than just doing an appraisal that is going to give them a value. I'm trying to help them solve a problem to either refinance the property or buy the property or sell the property. And I'm giving them the information, the tools that they need to help understand what to do. So the craft the problem statement is, what's the problem out there that your customers have, and how are you going to solve it? Identify your target market. Again, who is going to be using your service? What's the age, location, relationship, income level, all that stuff. Number 6, if it's got manufacturing distribution, explain those plans. Now, in digital businesses, a lot of that is outsourced, right? Somebody else actually does it, but you would then explain, I'm outsourcing manufacturing distribution to another company and Amazon. You know, Amazon's doing the distribution. I need somebody to manufacture it and then get it over to Amazon. And then finally, detail how business will be more profitable. What can you do to make it more and more profitable? It's funny because a lot of times people think, you know, you're just being cheap, right? You're trying to be profitable and you hold back, you pay people, reduce wages on people. And on the one hand, that's okay, but really you're trying to make sure that your business stays profitable in case things go down. So I'm gonna take some extra money and save it. I'm gonna take some money and invest it in the property to kind of upgrade itself. Products and or services. By the way, does anybody have any questions as we go along? You can either raise your hand or you can ask them. All right. All right. Products and or services. What happens is your company has either a product that they're selling or a service that they're selling. You need to list everything there is. again, if I go back to my business as a commercial appraiser, my service is more than just providing a commercial appraisal. And I have more services that I offer. So if you look at this chart and it says total service or product concept, you've got your core product, and then you do have supplemental product services that you offer. My core product is valuation, taking commercial property and determining what the market value is. But I have other services that basically people ask me about, like, do I know a surveyor? Do I have an inspector? And I don't do that work, but I have people that I work with that I refer them to. Now, some people refer them free, some people charge for it. I refer people for free. Just got to help them out. So in my case, I've got a core product, I've got supplementary products and services. And again, it says in here, business products are the things companies sell to make money. Put another way, business products are the goods and services that people want to buy to, for example, furnish their homes, to run their business supply, their schools, church, stadiums, factories, and generally keep the world moving forward. So as a commercial appraiser, I've got my core business, I've got my supplementary services. Now here it talks about supporting services, and then was that feed finishing or finishing service? Let's see, what is that? Facilitating services. So the facilitating services is the back office stuff, and the supporting services would be like retail or people kind of help. Next, watch this. After we finish the services product, we've got to talk about market analysis, a marketing plan. I used to teach principles of marketing back in the day. And we talked about the 4 Ps: product, price, place, distribution. That's what a market analysis is. It's kind of a detail about your customer, how big it is, your competitors, and how big they are, and if there's room for you. Where's your niche? That's what you want to do. So you talk about, it gives you an industry description, outlook, target market, market test results, lead time, and then competitive analysis. That's it. That's what is done. The market section comes after products and services are taken care of. It should provide detailed overview of the industry. In general, market analysis section should include, and well, let's talk about the 4 Ps. The product. What is your product? Again, more than just the physical, but also, what needs are you trying to fulfill? The price. What's your price point? For example, my daughter has an Amazon site in which all she sells is chocolate protein powder. And that's the product, but also more importantly for her is the taste, the consistency, and the fact that these people who are really trying to lose weight and change their life, and that means buying that powder every month. That's what she works on. Her product really is not just the protein powders, I tell her, but it's to help people either lose weight or gain weight, right? Most people that are working out, they drink a lot of protein because it helps build muscle. What's the price point? For my daughter, it seems to be about $27.99. The reason being, it appears that people, once you add tax, when the price gets over $30, people kind of balk at it. So at $27.99, whatever the tax rate is for that city. Most of the time, she ends up under $30. And that appears to be where she gets most of her sales. Not many people buy when it's over $30 with tax. And she can go into her back office in Amazon and she can see people that ordered and paid and people that ordered and just left. So the price seems to be very important, that it should be around $30. Place, where you're gonna sell it. Well, she, of course, is selling it on Amazon. So because of that, it's global in nature. She advertises through Amazon, but she also uses her social networking skills to go out there and discuss this product so that people can then find it and buy it. And that's where the promotion comes in. She does a lot of her own promotion. She does have a consultant out of Malaysia that she pays, I think, about $2 a bottle or can. And then the rest, the rest of that profit is hers. So she has somebody working with her, working on a per item basis to help drive traffic to her site. And she's promoting through Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, probably Reddit, all those different services. Anybody still have any questions as we go on? I don't want to lose anybody here. Or, some of this stuff is kind of mundane, shall we say, boring. But if you think about it, you're going to try and write a business plan. I'm thinking about trying to put that into Friday's class so you can see how it's done. Yeah. So some of it may seem boring or, oh man, what is this? But it's important that we do this because we got to have that information in that document. And all of these sections need to be kind of connected, right? The financial part should tie into the marketing part, should tie into the management part. All that kind of works together to make sure that we have a business plan that's solid. So as you're writing this business plan, you go back and look at maybe how the executive summary fits in, how the marketing plan fits in with your management team. Because you didn't want to have, like my daughter, an Amazon drop ship business, but nobody on the team knows anything about Amazon and drop shipping. Or none of them know or have any experience in that. Now, my daughter hired a consultant to help her, and it worked out. So because she understood she didn't know enough about it. So you can sit there and you can learn, which is fine. But in her case, she wanted to get it out faster, so she hired somebody, and it really worked out. She gets along well with the guy. Next is management description. Remember, we talked about marketing plan. We talked about the company. The management description section is going to talk about the management, the structure of it, the ownership structure. You see how down the bottom I have 4 different areas. The management structure, ownership structure, internal management team, the external management resources, and human resources. I know with some companies that I use, I like to go into their business plan and find out who the management team is. Because you can have a great idea, but if you don't have people that have experience and have worked in these areas, it's gonna increase the risk of failure. Or in some cases, the risk of it being a dummy company and I invest in something and lose all my money. So I like to look at who the management team is. What's their resume look like? Who they are. So when you put your management description, for example, my daughter is now does volunteer work with the Rotary Club and some other groups. And she's hired some consultants who work with the company. And that's what this number 3, external management resources. They're not with the company, they're kind of outside. You pay them, but their job is to help you provide resources to help the company run better, become more efficient, to be able to implement this plan. So I'm looking for people like that on your team. Who are the owners? And let's say you're still looking to raise some money. But anyway, I want to know who the owners are. I want to know who the internal management team is. You know, who are these people? Resumes, what are their backgrounds? What schools did they go to? And this may seem like a lot of stuff, and it is, but it depends on how big your business is. If you're doing a small little company like I have, then, you know, a lot of this stuff may not really, for example, I don't have any external management resources that I use. But then again, at 65, I've done a lot of this. My resume is pretty strong. I know what I'm doing. Now I have some external resources in terms of other appraisers I can reach out to if I need them. But for the most part, yeah, I don't have that many people anymore that kind of work with me in the company. And that's because, you know, I'm winding down. So a lot, when I was younger, 20 years ago, yeah, I had people that were actually working with me. I hired, from 1999 to about 2004. So that's, 20-something years ago. Whew, time flies. So it's important to include their resumes, a little description about them, like why did you hire, why are you going to use these people? What do they bring to the table that's important? One thing about small businesses is sometimes we underestimate the fact that we need help. So we find mentors. I get people all the time saying, I'd like you to be my mentor. That's fine. But you've got to reach me and be persistent enough, right? Because I'm not going to drop what I'm doing, but I will help you. If you come to me and you need help, you tell me what time. Don't ask me. You tell me what you want. I like entrepreneurs that come here and they want me to help them, and then they can give me a list of what they want. This is how, I want you to help me do this. That's what I'm looking for. Right? So when you have a management team, when you put your report together and you've got these people, and you might be able to put somebody like me as an external resource. Again, you may not have 5, 6 people. It may only be 1 or 2. Now you may grow it into 5 or 6, and you can talk about that. We're going to grow this thing, and we're going to end up with 5 different people or 3 different people. And even if you don't know who those people are, you can talk about what kind of, let's say, talent that they have. What is it that they bring to the table? What does their resume and their kind of previous jobs that they bring to your organization that makes your organization more profitable or more efficient or have a better chance of succeeding? All that's in this management description. So if we look at what we've done so far, we'll say, whoo, this is a lot of stuff. Yes, it is. You take your time, you put all this together so that when you give a document to somebody, they say, wow, that person has spent time thinking this through and filling in all the holes. That's what you want. So we're going to go, if I'm going through a business plan, I'm looking at this management section. And that's what I'm looking for. Looking at resumes, looking at these people, kind of figuring them out. So think about your business, what it is, I don't know, what it is you want to do, that you bring in some outside talent to help you. You don't have to pay for it all the time. I know my daughter has a group of 4 people that have had experience in doing what she's trying to do. And she can call on them anytime. They don't charge her any money. right? They're just older people, older like me probably, who've done it before that she can reach out to and ask a question. She's got me, both of my daughters, they have me where they can call and they've got a question related to real estate or related to their digital business. My youngest daughter doesn't take my advice too much. She thinks I'm too old, but my oldest daughter will. And I helped her recently figure out some rental space that she needed, trying to figure out which of the two, I think she had 3 spaces, which one she wanted to go ahead and rent. And we just sat down and kind of went through it, and I talked to her about it. And then she chose a location. That's kind of that external management service resource that you need. So I told her, you know, in your business plan, you could add my resume, just tell them I'm an outside resource related to some of the real estate that you're buying and well, not buying, but leasing. And then as it relates to the digital side of it, I can help with a web page, kind of help set up certain stuff for her. Next is, and this is the most important one, a financial plan. Probably after I read the executive summary, I go to the financial plan next. You know, I don't read it in the same order like this thing asks you to do, but I'll read the executive summary. If it's good, I'll move on to the financial plan. Because if people are asking me to invest, or even if they're asking me to participate, or they want me to buy the service, I want to make sure it's profitable, that it'll be around for a while, and that I want to be associated with it. You know, I don't want to be associated with some rinky-dink stuff or some scam or some bootleg stuff, or one of these multi-level marketing things that's really just a pyramid scheme, right? I don't want to be associated with that. So I'm really funny. So I go straight to the financial plan. And as you can see here, the financial plan, which we kind of touched on last week, we're talking about the importance of gathering and really looking at the revenue and the expenses, the startup cost, everything you need to determine this thing is going to be successful and profitable over time. I want to see that. And I want to go through the numbers to make sure that they're not made up and that all the numbers connect to each other. These 3 financial statements, the balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statement, should all connect to each other. If that's something you can't do, find somebody who has some background in accounting. Or if you need to hire somebody, an accountant to help you, they can put this part of it together for you. But I want to know, you say you're going to make all this money, prove it to me. How are you going to make it? And that's why with Shark Tank, they like people who've already sold some things. Because then they'll look, you'll see them, they'll ask, they want to really know, how much profit did you make when you sold those products? Right? And what did you do with that money? And I want to know also, if I'm going to give you some money, how are you going to use it? So this financial plan should say, I'm trying to raise $10,000 and it's going to grow my business X amount. I'm going to buy more inventory. I'm going to buy more inventory and hire a couple of people part-time to help me make it work. But every business plan has to have a balance sheet, which is your assets minus your liabilities. And remember, it should always be a positive number. The income statement, which is kind of like the periodic actual activity of the business, is revenue greater than expenses. Now, in starting a new business, sometimes that's not the case, and that's okay. If you look at Amazon, Amazon lost billions of dollars up front because they had to build out their distribution network and all those warehouses kind of get their business up and running right, and people to believe in it and understand. But they had a long-term goal. And Jeff Bezos talked about it because people were saying, well, how come you don't pay dividends? And how come you take all the money and pour it right back into the business? And he was saying, my business plan, I'm taking all this money, pouring it back in because I'm growing a global distribution network. Now that it's making money, you see the kind, now that he's built that network out, you see the kind of profitability he has and how much money it's generating. And that's reflecting itself in that stock price that went from $35 a share to over, was it $3,500 a share? 100x. So it's doing really well. And now it's generating tons of cash flow. So the income statement tells us periodically how much money we generate, revenue, how much we spend in a specific time, and give us our net income. And then cash flow adjusts the income statement to show what the flow of the cash through the business looks like. Because it's possible that it could have a high net income, but it's not generating a lot of positive cash flow because we're selling stuff, but it takes a while for people to pay us. But in the meanwhile, we're spending all the money and more we can to grow the business and therefore create all these expenses. So you'll see the financial plan, you'll see in there that in the financial plan, the income statement should flow into the balance sheet and the cash flow should flow from the income statement. And they should all network together. And that's what I'm looking for, that those numbers grow together. And we can, we're not going to do that in this class, but you could do almost a whole class just on this. My undergrad degree is accounting. I can remember having classes that just deal with this kind of stuff, how those numbers flow, how they're supposed to look. So that way, when I see somebody's financial plan, I can go in there and look at those numbers and I know how they're supposed to flow. And if they don't flow right, I'm not interested. You can see the chart on the left. It looks at the income statement and balance sheet. And from the income statement, you see revenue minus expenses. We talked about that last week. On the balance sheet, you see assets minus liabilities equal equity. And what equity really is, it's the accumulation of all the net incomes that you have, right? You got an income statement. Let's say they're annual income statements. The net income from each annual income statement should be added up and should equal to the equity. The revenue, the net income also should be used and should relate to assets, right? You buy those assets, and if you borrow against them or use them, then of course you got equity. So it all kind of links in together. And depending on what that is going to tell me whether this business is successful or not. Once I've finished reading and I find, okay, the financial state plan is pretty good. If it's not good, I put it down, I'm finished, right? So remember, I went to executive summary first. If the executive summary is not good, I put it down, I'm finished. If I like the executive summary, I go to the financial plan. And maybe that's because I'm an accounting guy. I go through, I look at the numbers, see what they look like, they make sense, they flow together, I continue. If not, I put it down, I'm finished. So let's say it works out. I like the numbers. Then I'm going to the organization and management piece. I want to see who's involved. What do their resumes look like? What's their history? I'm going to Google them, make sure that, nothing crazy has happened. They've not done anything in the past that would probably upset me. All those things I would do. Then I would move forward to the other sections of the report. But if not, I'd put it all away. Does anybody have any questions so far? in terms of what we're doing, talking about. Okay. The importance of a business plan. Let's go back here a little bit. Go all the way back to the beginning here. Give me a second. Remember, the importance of a business plan, right, is to take everything that as you think about this business and put it down on a sheet of paper, no matter how big it is, no matter how small it is. That's what we're doing. That's important to us. I got this table of contents that we went through. Remember, put yourself in the position of a reader of this. That's why when I do a business plan, the most important for me is executive summary, financial plan, management description, then marketing plan, then product and services. That's just the way I am. But for the most part, again, there are thousands of different kind of layouts and table of contents, outlines of doing this report. This is the way I like to write it, but it's not the way I like to read it. We talked about that introduction of a business plan, executive summary, and here's an example of an executive summary, which I wanted to go back to. If you look at this, and I don't know, let me see if I can blow this first part up. The mission of grad advisors is to empower the next generation of students with a new generation of teachers. Nice and short. And so if we're talking about the next generation of teachers, that's telling me they're using younger teachers to help empower. By empower, I'm assuming to help motivate that young generation. As an overview, it says that grad advisors began as a campus tutoring service, and who was founded by, and they got their credentials, University of Washington. Grad advisors moved off campus and into a first location. And that allows them to not only reach that particular high school, but other high schools. Then they talk about their problem, right? So they give you some facts about why the high school graduation rate is where it was. And it gives some stats on it. Then it talks about the solution, in which they're the solution. How they provide a place for low-performing students to work on their homework after school. Well, I need this for my granddaughter. We're trying to find something for her now like this. So they're being very specific about what they're doing. They look at who their target market is, right? It serves middle and high school students who are underperforming in school. Ideally, these students will bring friends to the center as well. The ultimate goal is to tutor these children to graduation and bring them back as mentor tutors. So then it talks about the keys to success, steps forward. It's been able to serve 56 students and what it's trying to do to move forward, and the opportunity for investment. Again, let them know, looking for investment partners from the business community. See, this is the kind of executive summary you would need if you're trying to raise some money from corporations. They're used to looking at these things, getting it done and getting it in the hands of certain companies that you think will help fund your group. When I ran a Little League organization, we were very successful raising money that way. We identified who would donate. We put together a business plan. It was pretty basic, but it was geared towards each one of those kind of services. With our grocery store, like a Stop and Shop, ours is called Kroger. They donated a lot of food to our kind of like a little restaurant that we had at the park. And they would donate the food for free, and then we'd sell it. And it was a great way of raising money. Uniforms. We had a company that picked up and paid for the uniforms. So that, again, when teachers, when parents paid for their kids to have their baseball uniforms, we could keep that money and we could use the uniforms that were donated to us by certain corporations. So as you can see, all this stuff ties in together. And we had a little business plan that we used, and we geared it towards the types of people that we were trying to get. And we had it, one of the most important things is we had experience. I spoke one time to the Georgia Dome people because we wanted them to sponsor. The first thing they asked is, what's your history? Once I gave the history and example of other companies that had donated, which included Major League Baseball, the guy said he was done. I mean, he said, wow, we support you and we'll make an annual donation, which they did for many years. But it was just the fact that we had experience, that we already had a list of pretty good donors, sold the deal. Everything you put in your business plan, people they're not going to necessarily read it all, but there's going to be something in there that somebody's looking for. If they see it, then they're going to support it. And so that's basically this example. If we talk more about that company description and what it is that you want the description to be, to make sure that people understand what it is you're doing, it's concise, and that you're looking to put in there something that tells somebody, hey, I'm willing to support this group or this organization, donate, work, give time, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish with your business plan. Finally, we talked about products and services. Sometimes remember, it's more than just that physical product. There's other services, there's other needs that your customer has that we're trying to solve. They come to me in my appraisal business because they need to know the value of that property. In many cases, because they want to buy it, or in some cases, they're trying to sell it. And they want to know the price before they get an offer from the potential buyer. We talked about the importance of market analysis. Remember, we talked about finding the people that are going to be buying this. Who's that target market? Then that all ties into what we talked about earlier, the product and service. Because if those people don't need your product or service, or your product and service isn't set up correctly, they're not gonna participate. It's not gonna work. We talked about management description. Making sure that I don't care how small your business is, get some people who can work with you. When we had the Little League, we had some individuals that wanted, that we could go to and could help us. And that was real successful. And having them on the list as potential, as people that supported us was very important. Like I said, Major League Baseball allowed us to do a deal with the Georgia Dome, which then allowed us to do a deal with Coca-Cola. They just snowballed from there. And then finally, remember, we talked about that financial plan. What is it about the financial plan? And making sure that that financial plan is tight, that those numbers work, they're realistic, and that they flow together. All that needs to be done and put into a report that flows together, that people will read it. Remember, everybody's not going to read the whole thing. They're just going to read certain sections. So there's nothing wrong with repeating certain things. You don't want to repeat too much, but there's nothing wrong with repeating certain things because they didn't read in the other section. The section that you put it in is the only one that they're going to read it from. So by putting certain things in multiple sections, you ensure that everybody gets a chance to read it. Okay. Again, does anybody have any questions? We went kind of fast here today. I didn't get a lot of questions, tried to bring up something, but it's up on 12 o'clock. Normally, we've got another 28 minutes. I would take any questions, or I can give some more examples of how business plans operate and how to do it. Anybody have any questions? Let me make sure. Let me stop sharing and come back up here. All right. So if not, I'd like to thank everybody. I'm going to take this video, as I said, put it up on YouTube. And I'm also going to have the class notes, kind of PowerPoint presentation. You'll be able to download a link of that so you can put it onto your device and have it as an outline to follow. So, do you have any other question?
Yep.
Who is this? Is all right. Okay. Well, if not, then I'd like to thank everybody for participating. Let everybody else know about these classes. Now, this is our last Saturday class. The reason it's the last Saturday, every class will be Zoom, and one of the two classes will go up on the YouTube channel that we have. But the other two from now on will be Wednesday afternoon at 5 and Thursday morning at 11. The reason we're doing that is because it allows tribal members, membership now can work, get paid to go to work. Get paid and still come to the class. As long as you've got a job that might let you take that time off. But I know everybody's kind of swamped. Then you can come to the class at 11, or you can Zoom in and participate that way. And for everybody who did take the class, I am going to reach out to you probably Monday, early part of the week, to get you your coupon for attending today. Right? Don't forget to, if you see me, in case I forget, but I'll go back and give everybody's information, name, so I can remember, and I'll make sure that you get to choose your next coupon. You want another grocery coupon, or you want the other dining coupon? It's up to you. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you. Yes. And I will see you next week. Again, you can Zoom in on Wednesday or Thursday morning. Then it'll be up on the web. So if you want to, so I know some people, I've had a couple of tribal members watch the previous video and then say that they're going to attend future classes, either this, or remember next month is real estate. And then the next month after that, September, it's going to be the stock market. I'm also going to be putting together some individual workshops on certain subjects that the membership is interested in. Valerie, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Is there a meeting coming up this Tuesday of membership?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I've been asked to mention something about these classes at that meeting.
Yes.
Just to let people know.
Yeah, that's at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, 1 o'clock. Okay, good. Well, I'll be there, but I'll probably see you sooner than that. I want to get you your card.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.